Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Giulia Gallarati. I'm the Secretary General of China-Italy Chamber of Commerce, and I will be the moderator of today's workshop. On behalf of the China-Italy Chamber of Commerce, that is a leading partner of EU ASME Center, I'm glad to welcome everybody to the online workshop entering the Chinese market through the power of social networks in China. Cross-border and e-commerce is opportunities. So this workshop is aimed at small and medium-sized enterprises located in Europe and interested in approaching the Chinese market. As you know, in a fast-changing global market, one of the biggest challenges for the companies is to keep consistency between their global strategies and the different communication actions required by local markets. This is especially true in China, where a very unique and digital environment in terms of platform, trends, and consumer habits often anticipates the global trends. So in this context, a deep knowledge of marketing and communication strategy is an important starting point for a successful strategy. The workshop will therefore give an insight into the global strategy and local marketing related to the digital export, exploring the power of social networks in China, as well as the three major players in cross-border influencer marketing, such as KOL, KOC, and Weibo. During this whole workshop, online workshop, we will definitely go through different and specific topic. Let me first introduce a little bit what is the USME Center and what is the China-Italy Chamber of Commerce. So the USME Center is a EU-funded project implemented by 5 European partners among Chamber of Commerce and Business Council. And USME Center is an official member of the European Enterprise Network and partner with more than 270 government agencies and business support organizations, both in Europe and in China. So with a local office in Beijing, the USME Center provides a comprehensive range of hands-on support services to small and medium-sized enterprises in EU and COSME participating countries. Cooperating with external experts worldwide, the center covers valuable knowledge, experience, and convert it in practical business tools and services easily accessible online. So mainly, as you can see from the slide, we have 4 main services. So we have a knowledge center, advice center that I will describe later, a training center, and SME advocacy platform. I would like to highlight the service we call Ask the Expert. This is particularly useful for companies that are looking for advice and have inquiries on Chinese market. So they can, for free, have replies by professional experts based in China that can assist them 24 hours on. So in the future, in the following months, the project will last for 18 months. And we have already scheduled for 2020 a lot of activities among publication, reports, and other and an update of FAQ database directly available on USME Center website. So, one of the 5 partners I mentioned that is implementing partner of USME Center is China-Italy Chamber of Commerce, that since phase 3 has took the lead of the management of USME Center. The Chamber of Commerce is the only business organization that is recognized by both the Italian government and the Chinese government. And the aim of the organization is to boost the internationalization and the settlement of the Italian business in the PRC. In next year, we will celebrate our 30 years anniversary with a consistent number of members, more than 600 in 2020. And that can spread from multinational corporation and small medium enterprises. As you can see from the map, we are located in 5 main areas in China: Beijing, Shanghai, Chongqing, Guangzhou, and Suzhou. But we are going to open very soon a liaison desk in Chengdu, Tianjin, Shenzhen, and maybe in Qingdao. The core of the China-Italy Chamber of Commerce are working groups. As you can see from the slide, we are organized in more than 12 sectorial working groups, starting from aviation and aerospace, energy and environmental protection, food and beverage, healthcare, and innovation. So we starting from the bottom, so is bottom-up process. Following a bottom-up process, we then develop different activities, promotional activities, services, and informative services for our members, and not only in these related sectors. We also provide services, informative services, business contacts, specific support, events, and communication. If you are interested, you can see the contacts on the slide, and here the contact of the USME Center. Is now the now the time to introduce the speakers of today's workshop. The first speaker is Mr. Stefano Generali. He's the Managing Director of Interget China. Welcome, Mr. Generali. It will follows Ambra Schigliero, PR and Marketing Director of Social Cloud. Then Andrea Fenn, CEO of Fireworks. And then, last but not least, of course, David Ries, Business Development Manager at Tribu. So, Mr. Generali, the floor is yours. Thank you.
So thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Giulia Gallarati, for the introductions. My name is Stefano Generali. I'm Managing Director of Intarget Shanghai. Intarget is a consultancy, agency, and digital company based in Europe. So we support European brands, European companies to get into local markets all over the world using digital technologies. And also we support them for China. So today's topic, let me start with the presentation, is about e-commerce, power of social network, and digital export. So as already Giulia said, that for China, we have a very important point related to digital, because it's a very fast-changing global market. I don't know if you can see my slide. Not yet, maybe? Hello?
Not yet.
Not yet? Mm-hmm. Just a sec. I hope we are ready now. Let me know if you're ready. So the global strategy and local markets. So in a fast changing global market, as Julia said, there are big challenges for brands and for companies when they want to adapt their global strategy to different markets, and they have to use different communication ways to communicate with the audience and to resonate with the target audience in local markets. Localization is one of the most important challenge for all companies. So even if a country has a huge commercial opportunity, at the same time, probably it has its own unique challenge to be explored. And this is especially true for China. In China, as you know, there is a very unique digital environment in terms of platforms, in terms of trends, like e-commerce, live streaming, and also different customer habits. So they often anticipate global trends, but for sure for China, is it necessary to have a strategic plan in order to communicate with this kind of audience and to use different approach for these local markets. We know that the digital market is China. China is a mobile and social focused digital market, and digital now is not just some possible options, it's just a key asset, is a key asset for the future market. Keep an eye on the innovation, the digital transformation that at this moment China is having recently. All over the world we have this kind of digital transformation, but this is especially true for China, where we have like an acceleration of many processes. One of this is like the B2B going online. We know that digital is optimizing all company processes in every different field. Even B2B is more and more online. This is especially true for China. Then we have more and more digital shopping and in China. And also, sorry, we have offline to online models that is very important for this market. And more the customers are becoming influencers, so they have a big power to influence the others customers. Social commerce is accelerating. This is a big process that we especially notice in China, the mix between e-commerce and social, and also the technologies in China is very, very popular. As you can see, opening any channel commerce is very important for any company selling products, but it's not the only way that companies can use to get more like competitive and increase export. Virtual reality, AI, Internet of Things, manufacturing, 3D printers, all new technologies can help company to be more productive, more competitive, and also to use perform activities that precede or follow the sales phase, like development of new project, MarTech technology, so technology for marketing, logistics, etc. Above all, the role of big data. As you know, China is very important market also because digital leads to data, and combining different information we can get from offline store, but mostly from online platform, we can get more and more information about customers, about their behavior, their taste. And just consider that Tencent collect and classify information, including social interests, entertainment interests, media preferences in a very large scale. That's mostly important for advertising, but it's something that is very special in China. As we said, China is fully digital already because people is using digital platforms and mobile every time, all day, to run business, to run errands, to entertain themselves, to order groceries, and for any kind of customer relation, for example. So that's why the platforms, they place a lot of emphasis in the fact that they follow the daily life of the users, like 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. And moreover, the platforms, they want to show that they are not just online shopping apps, but they are very following the customers all over the period on one day. But China is not just one market, because very often we talk about China and we consider a general market. Actually, China is a mix of very different markets. There are many different regions, and different regional differences are really huge. So in a country so large, even a niche audience can be massive, and niche platforms can be useful for a brand or for a company that wants to get into the market, not necessarily the most important one and the suitable ones. So what is important to make a plan to get into the market? Strategic plans, since China has its unique ecosystem, has three pillars. One is preliminary digital assessment, to size the opportunities in China, to create an entry strategy. And second, to identify the right partner advisor with a full extensive knowledge about the environment, not only social, not only e-commerce, but a fully digital environment knowledge is really important to make an action plan. And then analyze and monitor customer journey, platform, habits of the customers, trends on a regular basis. There are a lot of different ways to do e-commerce. We know different models. One is proprietary e-commerce for brand with solid structure in China. Another is marketplaces such as Tmall, Jingdong, Suning, or other niche marketplaces, or cross-border e-commerce through some different platforms. But we know that e-commerce platforms also need traffic. It's not enough. Obviously, it's a precondition to sell in China, for selling in China, but not enough, because we need also to build a direct relation with customers. So any successful strategy cannot taking into consideration three pillars: the knowledge of social platforms, of customer habits and trends. And I will try to highlight some key points. Social platforms are very important for business in China, especially, both for B2B and B2C. Why? Because they are very useful for prospecting, to attract new customers, clients, and partners, for branding, to reinforce company brand image, also internally, and also to build loyalty and create a stable relation with clients. How? Telling stories, representing the company, its values, its history and direction of the future, and also recreating experiences offline in the digital world. So as you know, in China, there are so many apps, the most important WeChat, Weibo, but there are so many in different areas, short videos, live streaming, travel, instant messaging. But what is the most important is that the large number of users of internet in China. The Chinese users spend 4 hours online per day and 3 hours on social media. So you can understand how important is like the presence of a company in a social media. The Chinese customers, they used to mix different areas of marketing in China, like search, in content portals, e-commerce platforms, social platforms, are all together in create and recreate a digital user experience, especially because it's a mobile ecosystem. So this means that consumptions in China and social media are very linked, strongly linked. And social networks have expanded their functions, gradually becoming a channel very important to obtain information on product, check their qualities, and that's why advice and reviews on social networks are more and more important and useful, and they affect a lot purchasing decision. Social commerce. So that's why we talk about social commerce everywhere in China. Especially social networks, they help to recreate this situation, to transform consumptions into entertainment, into a pastime. And also at the same time, social media are now a platform for CRM functions. So they represent a powerful tool in this way. Through digital and social network, especially, as you can see here for WeChat, we can recreate customer journey. We can see how the users are doing all day, and so we can define what they are doing in the pre-purchase phase, like where they get inspiration from ADV, from social, from friends, from KOLs, from families, review of product, for example, for search engines or e-commerce platform. And during the purchase phase, social media, mobile payment, for example, and then we can see what they do after purchase, like giving feedbacks and ratings. The brands and company can use the social media for customer service and to reply comments and feedbacks on social network. So if you want to create a map about customer journey, we can say that nowadays is less important the offline, especially in many countries, but also in China. And more the touch points are digital in different phases. You can see here different phases and different platforms, from awareness, interest, purchase, and build loyalty. Also, WeChat, as you can see, especially WeChat work, are very important to build loyalty and get in direct touch with clients. So I don't want to describe too much WeChat because it's very common and you know very well for sure. Just I want to highlight the fact that WeChat is a powerful app with many different functions. As a official accounts, so can be very useful to create mini site. Also can provide service through mini program, can provide a payment system through WeChat Pay, is also a media because it's an advertising platforms, and also a social customer service. So all these functions, they create this situation. WeChat can be a CRM for companies. An example that I'd like to highlight for you is from the B2B sector, because very often we talk about B2C, but there are also very important experiences that we can notice in different fields. And especially in this case, for example, I wanted to highlight how a company in China can make the best of the different platforms to create mini sites, to create mini programs, to sell online or provide service, create articles to show product and product catalog, etc. And they can create different platforms and be present on many apps in order to provide a mobile-friendly experience to their customers, not only to their customers, also to their partners, and also internally. So basically, they make the best of digital assets they have in order to create communication and conversation with all their stakeholders. This is something that is quite interesting in my opinion, because if you see also the WeChat account they have one specific WeChat account that is exclusively focused on digital storytelling, about the art of cutting materials, about the industry they are working with, because the Chinese consumers are very interested in know more about the production processes, for example, how a product is made, the history behind the item they want to buy. Even in B2B, this is something that we can perform, and that is very interesting in my opinion. If you check online on the WeChat environment, you can see so many mini programs. And many of them for this specific industry, for example, can show product catalog, can do after sales assistance. So this is an example about how we can make the best of social network, even for some specific industry involving expert and involving different platforms. Another example is Douyin. I don't want to highlight to you many other platforms because there are so many and are very well known, but just highlight what we can do in the same field. Even for Douyin, so important for short videos, we can see that production processes and production sites are inside the app. Many companies, even B2B, they use Douyin or other platform to show real content from production sites and show real-time authentic contents to their audience. Then WeChat or other platform like Douyin can be very useful also for cooperation with KOLs, with influencer. And this is another example of a bank. They create many social campaigns on Douyin, cooperating with KOLs. So later you will have a deep focus on KOLs and KOC in China. But I wanted to highlight that how important it is nowadays to pay attention to influencer marketing. So just to finish, to go to the end with the examples, we can see another, in this case, a large, big company making the best of like digital platforms, also creating some tours, virtual tours, to understand the manufacturing processes, to promote the new product, to create live streaming, to connect with their stakeholders. And at the end, the trends. So we noticed that there are some trends this year in China in 2020 that we think are going to be very important also for 2021. About the e-commerce, we noticed that there are more and more new categories of products in the marketplaces, like luxury, fresh food, home appliance, beauty, etc., are more and more present into the marketplaces in China, like Tmall, Suning, JD, and others. And also, we noticed that there are many platforms that are focused on cross-border e-commerce. So also for this kind of topic, you will have a better explanation later after my presentation. And also, we noticed that more and more KOLs and influencers are supporting the young generation, are influencing the young generations. So that's why we talk about social commerce. For social media trends, from like a little bit more tactical side, we can see that live streaming during a shopping festival is nowadays very popular. Also, the companies are focusing more and more in loyalty in their e-commerce platforms. In B2B and B2C, we have KOLs, celebrities, but also professional experts that are more and more present inside their platforms. And also the new role of consumers. KOC, key opinion consumers, are a way, they represent a way to promote product, to engage the audience. This is something that is especially true for China. Just to sum up, to go to the end of this presentation, we can say that we noticed some key points of the social media environment in China. One is the social character of consumption in China. Then social networks are everywhere in the daily life of users. Now we notice like activists in digital, in B2B sector more than in Western countries. Then innovation and tech acceleration is something that we cannot avoid to consider nowadays. And finally, performance and data to track and measure. The big data are really, really a powerful tool to track and measure what the customers are doing and the performance of our campaigns. So just to go to the end and to remind you that before get into the market, it's very important to create an entry strategy. And this entry strategy must be customized based on the product you are selling, based on the category of your product, the industry, what your competitors are doing already in the Chinese market. And for this reason, social network can be very useful. They can, beside e-commerce platforms, they can play a key role to get information about your audience, your competitors' actions through some research on analysis and advisory and strategic consultancy. Social platforms can generate traffic to your e-commerce platforms. They can promote sales and conversion, and also they can build a stable relation with your target audience. Not only customers, but also the customized for the brands or for company that wants to get into the Chinese market. So thank you for the moment. If you have any questions later, I will be with you, able to answer your questions. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Antonella from the China Italy Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Stefano. Just a short reminder, so during the presentation, you can write questions using the Q&A function or just in the chat, and we will, so our speakers will be more than happy to answer your questions at the end. Let's give the floor to the second speaker, Ambra Schiliro, PR and Marketing Director of Social Cloud. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Antonella. Thank you for giving us the possibility today to talk about social media and the importance for cross-border e-commerce. So hello, everyone. Today I will talk, thanks Stefano first of all for a great introduction, and now I will talk about KOL influencers in China. So Stefano started to talk about them. Now we will go a little bit deeper, because influencer marketing, we know everywhere in the world what is influencer marketing, but the way influencer is in China is quite different from the rest of the world. So our analysis today is like just to go a little bit deeper and to understand and to see what are the different influencers that exist in China, and also what are the difference in the meantime, I open the screen, the difference that there are among the way influencer in China works. So KOL, KOC, and Daigou, three major players in cross-border influencer marketing. So first of all, we'll start with something quite simple. That is the influencer experience in China. As an article from Boston Consulting Group states, in China, shopping is more than just a transaction. It's about entertainment, discovery, and social engagement with friends, celebrity, and internet influencers. So this means that in China, we don't do just the act of actually purchase something. The purchasing is just the final act after something that is more like entertaining, and it's a social experience. China influencer, something that is also different from the rest of the world, is that China social media influencer only need 1,000 true fans. This is because in China, usually, not just for celebrities, but also for influencer, above all when they are, let's say, like bigger influencer, like medium or big influencer, so at least the 10, 15K followers, people start to create group of fans that they start to engage in conversation to share content of the influencer, and so they will create private traffic instead of just using a normal influencer, and so just the classic influencer page in that case. what will happen inside those kind of groups, it's mostly the same of what is happening with mailing lists in the rest of the world. So usually the influencer probably, or the agent, has a second account in which it will be one of the person inside the group. And they will share exactly as Western brands do in the rest of the world with email, promotion or special promotion or sales or something like that. They are just inside those groups. So who are the Chinese influencers? We have different kind of Chinese influencers. So we have several different names to call them. So first of all, the influencers are, the big one are noted to be called KOL. So the KOL means key opinion leader. They have, why they are called like this and what is their main characteristic is that they have developed expertise on certain topic and they've created relationship with their audience over an extended period. So for example, on our right, we can see one influencer that her main topic is related to fashion. Then we have Darren, that it's another kind of KOL. In this case, it's a very experienced and professional KOL. So someone that is actually in this business from a lot of times. Plus, the term is born in 2019 because it's mostly also related to groups that do short videos, especially on Douyin and Kuaishou. And as I said, they are expert in certain kind of topics. So for example, on our right, we can see Austin Lee. Austin Lee is very famous all over the world. He's called the king of lipstick because he's actually quite famous for his live streaming in which he sells lipstick online. He did several promotion with Taobao. He actually did also live streaming together with Jack Ma, so the founder of Alibaba. And then we have the Wan Hong. This is a kind of different category because they are just, technically they are just internet celebrity. Sometimes the KOL are offended if you call them Wan Hong because the Wan Hong, they don't have a real expertise. They actually are famous for their appearance. So they are not exactly trusted by people, because it's not that they always promote, for example, fashion or food. They don't have a specific expertise. So people don't trust them at the same way as they do with KOL and Darren. And then we have KOC. There is another kind. So the first, sorry, I come back a second just to tell you. So KOL, Wan Hong, and Darren are three different kind of influencer with a huge number of followers. Then we have KOC. KOC, it's like the new trend of like last year, and it will go bigger and bigger every year. So what is a KOC? A KOC is basically your best friend. It's your mom. It's your colleague at work. It's someone that has a certain number of friends. Here you can see on the left, we have a screenshot of WeChat, and we can see the friend page. So in this case, we have this guy from Guangzhou that has 5,118 friends on WeChat. So it's a personal friends, private traffic. And what he does in the case of the, in the right, we can see a post snapshot. He shared information, he shared a post about another company. And you can see here, all this small picture you can see down the post. I'm not sure if you're familiar with WeChat, are people that liked the post. So a KOC, it's actually a person that doesn't have so many followers. The KOC has friends. He's a person that is just a consumer. This is why it's like key opinion consumer who decide themselves which product they want to try. So in most cases, they don't have large audience, but their expertise, I'm sorry, I'm afraid you cannot see the presentation properly. I'm not sure if I can send it. Okay, if you cannot see it properly, I will send you later because I'm afraid I cannot move it like this. I'm sorry about that. Their expertise is giving reviews about products or sharing information with their friends, their daily life, because this is what actually they do every day. So again, it's like your colleague, your friend, your mom, they share something in their social media. Considering we are talking about Chinese social media, but if we have to say something like related to Western social media, it's like in a personal profile on Facebook, it's your friend that share something about a product that they tried online. So this kind of KOC can be actually quite similar if we want to compare to something to the Western world, to the buying program of Amazon. So in Amazon, in USA, but actually all over the world, exists this program in which normal people can do customer of Amazon, can do reviews, and they participate in this kind of program. And so they receive earlier than the other customer, they receive new products, so they can actually review them in advance. And then we have a category that is not actually an influencer, but I wanted to talk to you about them because above all, in when it comes to cross border, it's actually quite important for several reasons. So Daigo, what are the Daigo? So basically, Daigo are Chinese people that live overseas and they make purchase overseas and then they sell through group chats. So again, private traffic to people that lives in China. Obviously, this is something not exactly legal. So it means that basically they send the product through the custom as a gift without paying the taxes. As you all know, the prices in China is quite higher, above all when it comes to luxury. So basically, they cut the prices in this way. I will tell you later why I wanted to talk to you about also Daigo. So in January 2019, the Chinese government actually implemented the cross-border e-commerce policies to begin a more rigorous regulation of the Daigo community. And encouraging them to register and pay taxes on their profit. We will talk about this in a while. Working method. I wanted to be a little bit practical, so I wanted to give you an idea of what is the working method with those influencers we talked about. So let's start with KOL Wanong and actually Darren. I'm sorry, I'm missing one title. So we have different way of cooperating with them. First of all, the basic standard is to know that we need to give them free products if we are talking about products, plus we need to pay a fee. Forget about everything that can be related to when it comes to KOL and Wanong. So we're talking about people with more than 1 million of followers. Forget about the idea that you can tell them, oh, I'll give you a commission on something. There can be also that just in case, but generally speaking, they just take free product plus a fee. There are different ways in which you actually can make different kind of cooperation with them. So I make a couple of samples here. On the left, we can see giveaways. So basically, the influencer inside in this case, it's Weibo, they can make a post and make tagging the brand and asking people to retag or to reshare and make a giveaways. So actually like making possibly also a lucky draw among the breeders. Just to be clear, Weibo specifically recently has actually a section related to that lucky draw. So actually all the influencers that do this kind of lucky draw, they use Weibo advertising and Weibo lucky draw. Otherwise the post will be shadow banned. So sometimes the fee can be higher because they have to include also this. Then we have product reviews. So this is a standard everybody knows. Sponsored posts, there can be pictures, video, or live streaming. And then KOL competition. This is mostly done by the brand. So in this case, we have KFC. We can see a KFC sample still on Weibo. So they did a competition among KOL. So the KOL has to share some different information and sorry, I was checking if there were messages for me inside Q&A, sorry. The KOL can participate to this kind of competition, and then the brand will actually decide who is the winner. So what they will do, the KOL will participate to this competition, and then they will ask their followers to share, like, comment the post, to do another action to keep promoting the post and let them win. So this is another way, another sample of how it's possible to work with KOL, Wanong, and Darren. Then we have the KOC. How do you work with your your cousin or with your mom? Well, it's quite easy. There's actually something that they usually do also on Amazon, even though in Amazon it's not legal. Free product, sometimes minimum fee, commission. So on the left, we can see a Xiaohongshu post. So we have a KOC, a person that here you can see there are only 3 comments, 12 stars, so it's like a favorite, and 7 like. This person is actually introducing you a product. So, and it's making a product review. The other way is the content sharing, as you can see on the right, or the WeChat post. So pictures of an event that happened. Sometimes you can have also for app, you can do the same, and you can give the KOC a dynamic QR code, so a unique dynamic QR code. In that way, you are also able to pay them the commission according to what actually they get you back as purchasing. This can be done also not just for app, but it can be done in a lot of social e-commerce, like even in Tmall. Tmall has actually a specific app that allow you to share a link in which you can take a commission if people will purchase from that link. And we talk about, again, Daigou. So I will go ahead about the launch in China. Again, I can share you this PDF with you if you want actually to read the all law in China. So yes, it's illegal, but this doesn't mean we cannot use them as KOC or influencer. Just remember one thing, those people are the people that have a lot of WeChat groups in which they sell products. So first of all, they are trusted by their customers. Second, they have tons of groups because some of them, above all in Australia, this is something that is happening above all in Australia, there are a lot of students that pay their own tuition and their own just being a Daigou. So brand can actually cooperate with them, but in another way, let them be their KOC or their KOL using their product traffic. Influencer channels. Well, Stefano already gave you, well, actually a basic understanding of social media channel. And after me, there will be other people talking about that. So I will make a very simple brief about that and talk about just a global channel. So social media and social e-commerce. So Weibo, WeChat, Xiaohongshu, Douyin, Bilibili, and Yijibo. As you can see here, as I said at the beginning, social media and purchasing is not just an act in China that comes by itself. Purchasing is something related to entertainment. Purchasing is something related to socialize. Purchasing is something related to having something having some connection with your favorite influencer and celebrities. So the majority of the social media now in China, apart from Xiaohongshu that actually was born already this way, they have an e-commerce function inside, oh, sorry, there is a question in Q&A. Okay. Okay, I will answer later because I'm not able to open it right now. So I will answer later to the Q&A question. We can see here we can see here several kinds of social media. We have Xiaohongshu, Douyin, and you can see inside this picture, you can actually see that all those live streaming, the link are clickable, and they take you to a shop in which you actually can purchase the item. Okay, I stop a second just to try to find the Q&A because, okay, I'm reading the Q&A. Is there a WeChat group for everyone attending this? It's not, okay, it's not related to me. Okay. So there are no Q&A for me right now. At least it's not what I see. Okay. So we were saying social media and social e-commerce, it's something like influencer work with, but not just that. Also in e-commerce platform. Also in e-commerce platform like Alibaba, so all the products sort of Alibaba. I didn't want to write Taobao because I have to say Tmall, blah, blah, blah. So Alibaba, JD, and Pinduoduo. Recently, I wanted to talk about Alibaba because recently Tmall Global, so actually the cross-border part, is promoting overseas brand to Chinese consumer using both foreign and Chinese influencers. So they launched an influencer incubator. That in this case, they changed also the name. It's called Wangzi. So they are not anymore Wan Hong, now they are Wangzi. And they are focusing on expanding the reach of importers and helping Chinese consumer explore global goods. Their main goal, actually, so it's like connecting overseas brand to Chinese consumers. They have an incubator. They are choosing influencer. On the right, you can see actually something that happened a couple of months ago. That is Magic Johnson doing a live streaming together with two Chinese Wangzi, in this case, selling CBD products here on Tmall. The screenshot is of the official Tmall Global Influencer Incubator account. So if you have WeChat, you can follow it, you can check all the information about it. And then let's talk about cases. KOL. So on the right, we have the sample of JD per Kuaishou special sale on June 16. The revenue of influencers like Zhang Yiqi and Xinpa reached 1.42 billion. Live streaming, as also Stefan has said before, is actually the new trend together with CICC. And above all, due to the pandemic, live streaming was something that was also like a companion. And it's still keeping company to the people that were stuck at home or in, stuck at home, basically, or in the hotel for people in quarantine. Then I take you a second sample. This one is not a case, it's like I didn't want to give you like just successful cases. I wanted to just show you how a KOL can be successful. In this case, Zhang Daiying, she'll sell different kind of products. She actually promote different kind of product in her Weibo. What they do to actually be sure that her followers will purchase them is that they use big data analytics to measure consumer sentiment towards newly released product. So then they don't have products that their consumers won't buy. This is one of the reasons I wanted to show you this, to show you also that different way of working between for Western influencer and Chinese influencer for two reasons. The first one is that I think everybody's familiar with Becky Lee. I mean, like everybody in the world, it's the woman that sold 100 millimeter in 5 minutes. Becky sells sale, the god of sale, the goddess of sale. Like she's called in many ways. Actually, the reality is that in generally speaking, the influencer in China are able to sell better than the influencer in the Western country for all the reasons I told you before, including they create a personal relationship with people, creating also group chat. And another way is that they really go ahead with what their consumer want, like Zhang Dai is doing. And in this way, and this is also one of the reasons why sometimes several influencers, they don't accept product. KOC. So about the KOC, I show you just two cases of successful cases that we had on Weibo. It's different. One was done by a brand, and a second one was done actually by Weibo itself. So the first one was done by a beauty brand, and they made a challenge online on Weibo with an hashtag Sakura Girls. Around 100 micro-influencers took the challenge and competed against each other in achieving the best result from using the products. At that point, so people purchased the product, first of all. They got 35 million of views with 100 micro-influencers reviewing it and posting on their Weibo. The second case, it's actually from Weibo itself. A few months ago, Weibo started a program to recruit KOC, so micro-influencer. And what they did specifically for this brand, it's a Korean brand. And they actually did this this hashtag, try new makeup, to try to recruit KOC to work with this makeup brand. To date, the hashtag has amassed 1.5 billion of views and 267,000 discussion. Statistic, I promise I'm almost over. So talking about statistics, because, well, we like numbers, right? So social media and mobile shopping are millennials' major consumption channel. They are the avid social media user, from live streaming to share with front trust or influencers and KOL. But not only millennials, also Gen Z, that is actually the people born after the 95. According to Top Digital and Mango TV report about KOL Market Insight, Generation Z has become the mainstream group of KOL fans, 54.29%. But let's not think about Gen Z only about young people in love with Chinese idol or something like this. On the left, we can see a graphic in which we can see Gen Z mom. So after 25 years old, a lot of people in China are married and possibly they have children. So as we can see from this graphic here, post 85 and 90s mother, top 4 information channel, we have mom influencer sharing from friends. So we have KOL and KOC. Going ahead, we can see the use of the social media and the KOL compared to the age distribution of followers compared to the platform we are talking about. So not all the platforms are okay for each kind of brand. So depending on the platform, we have a majority of brands, a majority of kind of consumer that can be our target consumer, while in others, it's not. Just to be clear, let's not consider that everything is like, if we have an idea, then it has to be in that way. We have an idea about a social media or a brand, and it has to be like that for consumer. I make a short sample. One of the most successful campaign that was done is not related to influencer, but to show you that we need to enter the Chinese market also influencer-wise, but generally speaking, we need to disrupt everything that we have in our mind compared to Western country. This successful case, it's related to a cooperation between MAC, so the lipsticks, and a video game from Tencent. So technically speaking, we think that video games are for kids. In the reality, in China, everybody plays video games. The reality is that this limited edition, this capsule collection of lipstick with the warrior of this Tencent game was sold out in 24 hours. Because it's not just related to, what actually it's in our mind. Okay, I'm almost finished, I swear. Here you can check, I can send you later this information. Here you can check actually the age distribution of follower according to the kind of social media. So Tencent WeChat is the most popular instant messenger in the country, and the majority of the followers are old people compared to the other platforms. And well, that's it. So if you have any other question, I will reply later. Thank you.
So thank you, Ambra, and let's give the floor to Andrea Fenn, CEO of Fireworks. Thank you, Andrea, please.
Hi, can you confirm quickly that you can hear me, Antonella?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, that's great. Okay, hi everybody. Thank you to the USME and obviously to the Chamber of Commerce for having me. Thank you for the other speakers and obviously to all of you. Following the presentations that have just been made, I just wanted to delve a little bit deeper into the opportunities that are in China right now, especially talking about digital opportunities. So in my very brief presentation, I will be focusing on China in 2020, so what China has been obviously from a digital point of view in 2020, and looking ahead about what opportunities there are for small and medium enterprises like the ones where most of the attendees work in China. Before that, real quick introduction about myself. I have been working and living in China for the past 15 years. This is in fact me in 2005, I believe. I was graduating at a university in Northern China, Shandong University, and this was the end of the year theater play where I was playing a very important role. I was given the part of Sun Wukong, who is the hero of the most important saga, literary saga in China, is the half monkey, half man. And they selected me because I was the only Westerner in my class, and obviously I was the only one with a beard, hence me being selected for the important monkey role. And fast forward to me a year ago, so this is my team, Fireworks. It has expanded a little ever since, but I think you can see we're a team of foreigners and mostly Chinese, focusing on digital solutions for international companies. So companies, brands who are willing to enter the Chinese market, we provide technology support, e-commerce support, marketing support. And this is the area where I've been working for the majority of the 15 years that I've been in China. So starting on with a little bit of a retrospective on China in 2020. If something has happened in 2020, and we all know that 2020 has been a very momentous year, a very important year everywhere, and it's been the same in China. Something that has happened is that once more digital has been confirmed as the predominant force of society. So in 2020 in China, digital is the only way. When we talk about 2020, of course, you know, like the first thing that we talk about is COVID, and then you will think, okay, here is the typical photo of people wearing masks during COVID. Well, no, this is a photo from 2003. Not many people know that in 2003, China had a very similar experience with a very similar pandemic that actually was one of the principal forces that made China the digital champion that it is today. So it's almost like the history is repeating itself. A big pandemic, a big shock that turns a society into becoming more and more digital. It was 2003, so roughly the time when I was at university. And in southern China, there was this mysterious disease. Nobody knew how to deal with it. It was very, the traditional means of prophylaxis were not working in China. And at the time, local government did what normally was doing when they were dealing with something that they didn't know how to deal with, which is, let's not talk about it. They completely shut off any communication, any information about this disease, because they were ashamed. The local governments were ashamed of the judgment of the central government. They didn't want to show that they didn't know how to deal with this new disease. So no information was available on any of the traditional media. At the time, internet was already burgeoning. It was at the starting point in China, and obviously people weren't using WeChat as they do today. They certainly weren't using Facebook. They were using bulletin boards, BBS. So the forums that they were using on a desktop computer. And in BBS forums, people in the medical industry, nurses, doctors, or people simply informed about this disease were sharing information about the disease, about how to deal with it, how to cure it, and the enormous amount of information that suddenly was spread about this disease online was such that the governments would finally, the central government and the local governments were finally forced to reveal the existence of this disease. The disease was called SARS. I'm sure some of you remember. And some people think, and I think rightly so, that SARS was the moment when China started becoming a digital society. People realized that digital was not just another channel, but was something that could help them achieve much more than they could achieve in traditional channels, be it commerce, be it information, be it the news, whatever it is. So in the years following, China has continued on this path of digital domination, and it is now by far the most digital country in the world. It is the most connected country in the world. It has the most users. It has the most time spent on digital channels, around 6 to 8 hours a day in main cities. People spend on their mobile phones. It is by far the biggest e-commerce market in the world. It has been the biggest e-commerce market in the world ever since 2014, and it's already largely bigger than any of its competitors, and everything and anything has been moving towards a full, complete digitalization. Now, COVID has clearly accelerated this process in many ways, and in ways that to some outside of China would seem unbelievable. I'll give you some examples. China has now practically moved to become a cashless society. So in the city centers, in the big cities, the overwhelming majority of people, including me, don't carry any cash. Obviously, COVID has accelerated this process because the idea of exchanging physical notes has been perceived as something dangerous, and people have happily jumped into using more and more virtual wallets, like the ones that we use on our Alipay or our WeChat Pay. This is, for example, a coffee shop that I normally go to every morning, but there's many other places like this where they don't accept any cash. So only virtual wallets are acceptable. And then, of course, there is e-commerce. Now, as mentioned, e-commerce in China already is the biggest market in the world, and already around 25 to 30% of all transactions in China happen online. So it's already by far more advanced than any other nation. And obviously, once again, COVID has accelerated this process. These are photos, for example, of how outside every residential compound, there were designated areas, and there still are right now, where people can receive their parcels or deposit parcels without having any physical contact with, say, the delivery person, but in general, to facilitate a society that has e-commerce as the main way that consumer think of commerce itself. The logistics of e-commerce and the logistics in general have received an enormous boost, also thanks to COVID. No contact operations, completely automatized logistics, drones, like the ones that I'm showing you in these photos, are being tested and used by different platforms in different sectors to facilitate and make it even more possible that millions, if not billions, of parcels are handled every day and every hour by platforms and consumers that demand them more and more. And then finally, live streaming. Ambra has already mentioned this phenomenon. This is something that to some of us with a Western eye would seem a very similar rendition of the traditional telemarketing. And in fact, to a certain degree, it is. It's people in front of a camera. It's the phone's camera, but it's still just a camera, making these marathons where they explain and try and sell all sorts of products. Well, it is surprising how much support, how much success these type of operations have. There are the cases that Amber already showed of extremely successful live stream hosts that can make millions, if not hundreds of millions with each of their live streaming sessions. And I think this is once again a testimony on how the consumer in China is completely accustomed to the idea of doing anything within the frame of their phone, whether it's buying something, whether it's being entertained, but often the two are coexisting, because in the end, live streaming is simply a very entertaining version of a shopping session. Finally, there is also the world of the more traditional B2B business exchanges. The Canton Fair is the world's biggest physical fair, and it's normally held in March to April. So this year it was it was scheduled right when China was witnessing the first wave of COVID. And instead of doing what many other physical fairs have done around the world, they were very prompt in proposing and executing a full digital version of the Canton Fair. So all of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of exhibitors and millions of B2B visitors have been completely moved online, and to the statement of the organizer to no particular influence to the result of the activity itself. So this has been happening in China in 2020. I know that China is daunting, and what happens in China is often very fast-paced and very difficult to grasp to a Western eye. But within this fast-paced and dynamic changes, there lie a lot of opportunities, and opportunities are there to be taken. And I wanted to select a few for you, small, medium enterprising, looking into entering or increasing their presence in the Chinese market. The first opportunity has to do with the way that consumers are changing and the way that digital is supporting this change in perception and in priorities. So consumers want new type of products. In fact, I say consumers and the government want new types of products. I'll explain why. So when you look at the leading categories on Tmall Global, which is the leading e-commerce platform in their international section, so the section where consumers buy product directly from abroad, I think you can clearly see a story, and the story is of a consumer that is increasingly interested in products that have to do with their well-being. So we're talking about mother and baby, healthcare, beauty and skincare, and in general, everything that has to do with increasing the value, increasing the quality of the life of the consumers. And looking at from the point of view of China and how it's evolved in the past few years, this makes perfect sense. Why? Because as consumers have become more wealthy, at least some consumers have become more wealthy, they now start focusing on things that are on values that are deeper. So they're starting wondering things like, okay, yes, I have achieved wealth, but what is the quality of the air I'm breathing? What is the quality of the water I'm drinking? What kind of life, what kind of future am I building for my kids and the next generations? Obviously, this kind of questions that have to do with the quality of life have only increased. And during the COVID crisis, as people started realizing that, hey, you know, we live in a very fragile environment, and yes, of course, we have achieved economic emancipation, but you know, there are other priorities like out there that we need to also focus on. And it is for these reasons that categories like health supplements and in general everything that has to do with safety, with cleanliness, with health has received a lot of interest and a lot of prioritization by Chinese consumers. On it, the role of and the opportunity for international companies is very big. Why? Because even though Chinese products have improved a lot in the past few years, and they are to many extent similar, if not superior, to a lot of international products, they still have a certain stigma, and the stigma is related to the type of food quality scandals, health scandals, and I'm sure you've heard about Chinese products. This is the reason why international products, especially products coming from countries or sectors that have this idea, this image of cleanliness, this idea of health, this idea of safety, they tend to be very popular, and they tend to be preferred by consumers. Now, on this element, so like the interest by consumers overlaps another factor, which is the geopolitical relationship that China has with a lot of other nations. Especially in 2020 was a very particular year in that China developed some tensions with certain countries. The more important one is obviously the US. So there was an ongoing call it tariff war, and in general trade war between China and the US. And the result of this was that products from other countries were suddenly preferred by Chinese consumers, and even preferred by the government itself. An example has to do with education. So education products and universities of other countries apart from the US have received a big boost in 2020 as parents suddenly decided not to send their kids to the US, or in the future decided not to send them to the US, but preferred other types of countries. But consumer products have also been impacted by this. For example, with Australia, it's very recent that China has placed a ban on, or a tariff on Australian wine, and this obviously puts a big creates a window of opportunity for other countries like European countries like Italy, France, Spain, who are wine producers and obviously are now suddenly preferred by consumers and the government alike. Something that needs to be said is that in general there is a lot of interest for niche countries, European countries that have this position of being held as pure, as clean, as very honest, and this is something that provides some opportunities. An example is how Denmark has been trying as a country to promote its positioning and to promote its products by partnering with different digital platforms. So this is an example of an activity that the Danish government, so the gentleman you see in the middle, he is the Danish trade commissioner in Shanghai, to promote its products through digital channels in different ways. And this is another activity. Instead, this is an activity that we as a company have helped facilitate. This was an activity by the Italian institutions, by the Italian trade agency, who during a wine fair in the south of China, they created a pop-up shop and a live streaming session on to promote Italian wines on a big, a leading e-commerce platform called Pinduoduo. Now, the second opportunity, the second trend, if you wish, is that as consumers tend to be more interested in international products, especially products coming from niche countries, and the government seems to be just as willing to, there are opportunities for companies, for brands, to sell to consumers in China directly from home. This has to do with cross-border e-commerce. There is an entire session dedicated to cross-border e-commerce, so I don't want to delve too deep into this topic, but suffice it to say that the government in the past, the Chinese government in the past few years, and accelerating even this year, has created a series of policies that actually make it easier for companies outside of China to sell the products directly to their final consumers through e-commerce, and obviously for consumers instead to buy products from abroad. There are many different aspects to this policy. One is the creation of free trade zones, which are areas where companies can place their products without actually custom clear them, so without taking the risk of importing them, paying taxes over them, stocking them in China, but simply putting their products in the territory, but limiting their financial risk. And this is a policy that is favorable for international companies and consumers alike, because taxes are low, because consumers can have access to a plethora of new products that normally wouldn't be available in the market, but also for the government, because the government allows a legal way to sell these products, meaning that these products then pay taxes, as opposed to the cases of parallel selling. So the typical case of the Chinese traveling around the world and then buying products in abroad and then bringing them in China without paying taxes and then selling them in China. So cross-border e-commerce comes with a lot of different facets. This is a complicated slide, so if you're interested, maybe you can screenshot it now. But as I said, there is a full presentation after mine dedicated to cross-border e-commerce. But I think the point of it is it's legal. It's a government-approved activity that has less taxes than normal e-commerce activity, or even traditional commerce, and has a series of services and processes that are provided by the government and by providers that allow companies to very quickly and relatively easily sell directly to Chinese consumers from abroad, which is obviously a very big opportunity that wasn't present before, as companies that were interested in the Chinese market would have had to come here physically, either to find a distributor or to set up a business unit here, open a company, open a bank account, and a series of things that obviously take more time and have exposed the company to more risk. This is an example. Once again, it's an example of something that we do as a company, and it's something done by the Italian Association of Cosmetics. So they selected a group of small and medium cosmetic company, Italian cosmetics company, and they put them under a single umbrella and a single brand called Beauty Bit. They then set up a shop on one of the leading Chinese digital platforms, WeChat, and this is the shop. This is the shop of Beauty Bit, where all these products that you can see could be purchased by the final consumers. And in this specific case, the products are shipped directly from Italy. So consumers can receive products in 2 weeks at a reasonable price, because the cross-border taxes are relatively limited. Consider also that cosmetics, if you were to import products with a normal cosmetics, with a normal import procedure, you would even have to do animal testing, and not all cosmetics companies are willing to do that. But with cross-border e-commerce, this is not necessary. And from the eyes of the consumers, consumers can receive and suddenly have access to a lot of products that they normally wouldn't be able to access unless they travel to Italy, in a relatively easy way, and obviously within the click of their finger on their phone. And the third opportunity and trend has to do with B2B. So the ability of companies to network, so to find their producers, their distributors, their buyers, their business partners in China by networking through digital channels, so by networking online. Now, I recently was looking at the issue of B2B and how it's been heavily disrupted by COVID. I'm sure you have also witnessed a situation like this, like trade shows that have been cancelled, no ability to travel around the world, so no ability to actually go and visit factories and distributors, and this has seemed to have disrupted heavily the business of a lot of companies. Well, in fact, I found that in the West, the majority of companies are not used to engage in online B2B activities. They're not used to engage in online activities at all. Around 2/3 of companies in the US, to give you an example, have been online for only 5 years or less, which obviously makes COVID and suddenly the inability to physically interact something very disruptive. In China, instead, well, China has been actually dealing with online digital B2B networking and B2B business, digital business, ever since 1999. Not everybody knows that Alibaba, which is the owner of Tmall, the biggest, and Taobao, the biggest e-commerce platforms in China and in the world, is also the owner of Alibaba.com, which is a B2B digital ecosystem, and this was created in 1999. So this is to say that Chinese companies have been used to be engaging with digital B2B activities ever since 1999. And COVID has only accelerated and empowered even more this process of making sure that companies would engage with their peers, with their partners through digital channels. And so the opportunity and the recommendation for you is to try and look for these opportunities. In China, a lot of platforms and solutions have been created to make sure that companies outside of China can engage with suppliers or buyers in China. An example is something that we have, as a company, have created together with Vinitaly, the biggest trade show of wine and spirits in the world. It really just is a digital version of a trade show. So it's a B2B e-commerce, if you wish, where information about wineries, Italian wineries, but not only, can be seen by buyers in China, and data can be exchanged and information can be obtained. So I want to end with a note on this, saying that obviously we all hope that the situation with COVID and the economy goes back to normal, and we all hope that we will be able to be engaging in traditional type of business activities, whether it's traditional physical retail, or whether it's traditional physical B2B interactions like trade shows. But I encourage everybody to think that outside of China, but certainly in China, the world is not going to be back to where it was before COVID. The digitalization process in China is now completely underway, if not almost completed, and everything in the future will be largely based out of digital channels. To give you a specific example, the Vinitaly, so the wine fair that we helped with this digital platform, they finally managed to have a physical version of their fair in the south of China, in Shenzhen, at the end of last month. Obviously, it was a much more small scale, much more controlled type of experience. And obviously, we were very happy that they were able to go back to the physical, traditional way of doing business. But even so, they decided to make sure that the platform that we have created with them becomes a crucial element, a crucial pillar of the experience. So that every consumer, every visitor of the fair would be engaging with the online platform together with the offline experience and after the offline experience. This is obviously to allow the users and the buyers and the exhibitors to be in touch after the fair, so to even make it more effective long term, but also, and more importantly, because they're understanding that consumers in China are now fully digitalized, and even any non-digital activity needs to be thought with an element of digitalization to it, so that the offline and the online experiences, they can combine and they can complement each other for a much better result. So that was it. These are my contacts, or my WeChat. If you have WeChat, I'm happy to hear some questions if you have, and I leave the floor to the next speaker.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the panelists that came before, and all of their very interesting insights on the Chinese market. My name is David Rees, and I'm going to be dealing with, my presentation is basically the A to Z on how to cross-border e-commerce. So sort of in a more practical sense, what the previous presentations already contextualized. So just going to open up my screen sharing and go into presentation. So like I said, this is a effectively an A to Z of cross-border e-commerce. If you're interested, if you already gained some ideas from what you heard previously, this is kind of a tutorial on how you might want to get started. So first off, looking at big picture. China is the largest online retail market, larger than the next 10 markets combined, in fact. At 1.5 trillion US dollars, it's just enormous. However, it's also extremely competitive. And one phrase that I hear a lot from people thinking about entering the market is, well, if we just get 1%, we're set. Well, of course, if you actually then go into the demographic of your consumers and your target market, you're going to find that that's a much smaller market, and it's also, like I said, very competitive. It's not to be discouraging, but to be realistic and to be in the mindset of thinking, okay, well, I need to take a practical approach, can't just jump in. So a little bit of an introduction to how e-commerce takes place in China. Well, these are some of the platforms. You'll notice, first thing, that none of the familiar platforms that you might know from Europe or the US are here. There's no Amazon, there's no Etsy, and there's no Farfetch as being e-commerce giants. Here, the platforms are Tmall, JD, Suning, WeChat, many more. Of course, as you can see from this graphic, Tmall and JD rule the B2C market, but they're not the only options. And we'll get into that a little bit more later in reflecting on the choices that one can make in choosing an approach. Well, the first thing that you might want to choose actually is what kind of model you're going to take. So this seminar obviously is about cross-border e-commerce, and it's a very valid alternative to domestic. So in a domestic strategy, you have a legal entity set up and your product is stocked in China. In this case, you can sell directly on Tmall, JD, or a WeChat mini program or any other number of platforms directly from your warehouse within China. There's obviously advantages such as quicker shipment, but there's also disadvantages in that you have to commit strongly. And in fact, these different levels of commitment are a theme that will come up again and again through the presentation as you have to consider a path to opening up the market. The alternative is cross-border e-commerce. So in this strategy, you will either have your stock in your home country, such as Italy or Europe, anywhere abouts, or alternatively in a free trade zone, which is a very valid option to bring yourself closer to the market without fully entering. And in this case, you don't need to set up a legal entity, and your level of commitment is lower, and it's a little bit more approachable. So cross-border e-commerce, well, how big of a market is it? Well, in 2020, it's predicted to reach almost over 150 billion US dollars in merchandise value. This is almost doubling last year. Obviously, this is partially brought on by the pandemic and the fact that people cannot shop abroad anymore. And so their interest in imported products, that certainly has not lessened, now needs to be satisfied in a different way, which is to shop via cross-border e-commerce. Based on surveys and also the category data from Tmall Global, we can see that food and drink, fashion, cosmetics, personal care, kid and mother, and living products are the top categories. So with the exception of fashion, these are largely products which you ingest or obviously apply to yourself in some way or other, And there's a certain distrust towards local products that customers here have. So one of the mindsets that a cross-border e-commerce client might have is that they're looking for alternatives from the products that are available to them because they feel more comfortable buying directly from abroad. They maybe also be looking for, they're possibly the curious customers that are looking for products that they can't find here. And are trying to explore a little bit outside of the boundaries of what's available to them or available largely on the market. And so they explore the option of cross-border e-commerce. Lastly, the kinds of clients that you might encounter are those that simply do not actually realize that they're shopping cross-border e-commerce. And a lot of platforms, the cross-border e-commerce options are listed together with all the other options. And it's a simple extra click and 2 extra informations for that purchase to occur. And in many cases, the shipping time is also very similar. So that client may not even be fully aware of the fact or of the ramifications of them buying internationally. So these are kind of the market size in this segment and the shoppers. Well, if you're interested in getting a piece of that cake and you want to sell in B2C in cross-border e-commerce, the first thing one needs to check is the positives list. This is a list with 1,321 different commodity categories which are permitted to be imported in cross-border e-commerce. Basically, if you're on this positives list, or your products are, you can import without applying for any kind of import license, thus simplifying your process hugely. If you want more details on this list, it's readily available on Google or via a consultation with an agency that handles cross-border e-commerce. Well, another limit of cross-border e-commerce, if you are on the positives list, is you're going to be well, there's a limit on each transaction of 5,000 RMB. So you need to consider, first off, is your product within the positives list? And second off, does it cost less than 5,000 RMB? If you qualify for both those things, then you can readily sell. You can readily sell to customers in this means. Here there's what the comprehensive tax is then applied, which is a favorable tax. There's a little formula there, and for anybody who's interested in this presentation, there's actually greater detail on this, which in a separate version, which I will make available after the presentation. But in summary, basically, if you're on the positives list and the price is right, then you are eligible for preferential tax and importation. If you're over the price limit, then the general importation tax is set, but you still have preferential importation, meaning you don't need a importation license, etc. And if you're not on the positives list, well, then you can still import products, but just the regular old way. What this all sums up to basically is, in practice, that if you were selling pasta in general trade, you'd be applying a 24.3% tax on it, whereas in cross-border e-commerce, you can sell that at 9.1% tax. So that's very favorable to customers, and it's an incentive to shop in cross-border e-commerce as opposed to any black market sales means that exist. So this is, in a very practical sense, what then the logistical steps look like in importing products from Italy or Europe or anywhere else into China. And there are two main models that you can follow. Effectively, in both of them, you rely on your logistics partner to clear customs for your products, but the difference lies in the direct method, where you ship from internationally directly into the customer, or you import into a free trade zone and then via local courier send to the customer. And this localizes the product somewhat without fully doing so. If these are all things that interest you as a brand trying to sell into China, then, like anywhere else, you should be considering what are, well, what's the full picture going to look like? And so this is a little bit of a checklist of what one can consider when entering the market. I mean, first off, especially in cross-border, one needs to think of an order fulfillment process. This is very important because realistically, you need to be able to get the product to the final customer. Next off, you need to think of your merchandising. So what kind of products you want to sell and what channels you want to sell them through. Finally, your budget. I mean, this is going to also apply to the channel because different channels implicate very different costs. And so it's important to consider this and make sure that there's enough left to then develop a market development plan. Here's where you're going to do your promotions, etc. Lastly, but definitely not least, there's the regulations and operations, just making sure that everything that you do is workable in both a legal sense and catering to the requirements of each platform. This is effectively what I call like a best practice roadmap. So how to enter a market? Well, think about it this way. First off, you're going to want to position yourself and strategize what kind of communications you're going to make, how you're going to make them, and to who you're aiming at. So plan. Second off is going to be creating a social media presence. So talk with choosing your social media channels and then get people talking. So this is, there's a wide plethora of media channels that you can choose from. And they were sort of touched on before, but you're definitely going to want to invest in getting there. Third step is setting up a means of commerce. This doesn't have to be e-commerce, but obviously in this case it is. So this is creating touch points where people can get availability to your products. Finally, is expanding outreach. So this is just rinsing and repeating. Think about the next step. Okay, the next platform, the next means of communication, the next e-commerce point. Expand and give more availability to products. This is a very good growth strategy to pursue. I mean, in very basic sense. This is what I call a funnel of awareness. At the top is creating awareness, and at the end is driving sales. In 3 steps, effectively, what you try to do via means of media and e-commerce together is to create noise, then with smaller mediums, create interest, and then finally, in a very direct to the customer way, convert that to sales. You can look at the presentation in some detail for some examples of different channels that you might choose to follow this this funnel down and then convert your awareness into sales. Well, we talked about very vaguely and in a very large way a lot of different platforms and means. Well, I also want to talk a little bit about the platforms specifically, but I'll just touch on a couple in a very quick way. The first platform here is Tmall Global. Tmall Global is within Tmall. It's part of the ecosystem. It is 57 million active users using Tmall Global specifically, but it's within the ecosystem, which is Tmall. And Tmall, there are actually 870 million active users, which is an incredible number. And this is accessible within that ecosystem. The next one is JD. JD is very similar. It's a little bit more Amazon-like in its business model, so it integrates sort of aspect of wholesale purchasing, and then their own logistics to the formula. There's a slightly different consumer base compared to Tmall, but they're both overall similar platforms. They both share huge amounts of the market and do incredible sales. But both of these platforms are sort of comparable to giant bazaars. For example, the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, the analogy I like to make is, well, there's about 12 million monthly visitors at that bazaar. And if you've ever visited Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, you'll see that actually, despite the massive number of people, the space is so large too, it's 30 square kilometers or something like that, that if you wander a little bit off the beaten track, you can find these little shops that really don't attract a lot of traffic, don't have any visibility. So being on these huge platforms is a little bit like that. If you can buy the correct real estate, you have access to immense traffic and sales opportunity. If you don't fit those criteria very well, and you don't have the budget to reach that and turn on the giant neon, then you're not going to have that traffic, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of this platform. And the expense of running on this platform is very high. So it's not a strategy for every brand. Meanwhile, a mini program is a kind of mini app within the WeChat program. And when you're inside, you have access to, this is one that we set up, to shopping or other aspects too. I mean, you can run a mini program effectively as any other kind of app on your phone. You can combine it with CRM programs or mini games or all the above at once in some sense or other. There's obviously a massive amount of traffic that comes through it. WeChat has over 1.2 billion active users. Thus, it's no surprise that there are 600 million active users on WeChat mini programs. And this, if I was comparing JD and Tmall to Giant Bazaar, this is kind of like setting up your own store in the middle of nowhere, but you have the option to build roads to it. So here's where maybe in a more direct way, you engage with customers and drive them this way. That's different from Tmall, where you rely on the traffic that they attract to then and then funnel to you. These are some of the social channels. This is WeChat. I'll leave these details in the presentation for you so that you can have a review. But effectively, WeChat is the primary communications channel in China. I'm sure everyone's somewhat familiar with it. There are well over 1 billion people using it, and it's sort of the standard for everyone to have here. The other big one is Weibo. These are both very different social media channels, but both very large. And Weibo is another one that's very interesting. That is a little bit of a Facebook meets Instagram for posting, and a good place to engage with customers and people directly as a brand in a B2C way. So just to wrap it up, this is kind of a map of what I was just talking about. So what you want to do is effectively, when funneling, is create a sort of strategy that looks something like this. If you imagine the funnel from looking from above, it could be something like this, where you have all these different mediums and leading into your, in this case, e-commerce source. So you're going to want to find ways to input content, advertising, keywords, building awareness, whatever it is, all of that stuff, you're going to want to try to combine it and link it to your commerce. And that way you can convert that traffic into sales. With that, I would like to wrap up the conversation and thank everyone for listening. So we can jump into the Q&A section. This is my contact. If you want to add me, feel free on WeChat in this moment is perfect. And I will gladly share the full version of the presentation with a little bit more detail. Excellent.
Thank you, David. We have a couple of questions for our speakers. I kindly ask Stefano Generali to answer the first question.
Hello. Hi, I'm here.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so yes, I saw that there is a question is about what kind of digital partner we can involve, right? Is it correct?
Yeah, exactly. So the question is, good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Generali, you talk about digital partners that are necessary to have an online presence in China. Well, who could be these partners? Who should I ask to if I would like to open an e-commerce or to have a Tmall WeChat presence in China? Please.
Okay, so basically for this point, we can say that partners can be different. Obviously, there are agencies focused on social media platforms, others very expert in managing pages or managing like shops on Tmall, on other marketplaces, tech companies to develop a mini program, to do live streaming. So there are many advertising agencies, there are many partners that you can contact. But if you already have your idea clear in mind, if you already know which one is your target, what kind of platform, the right platform to use, etc. Otherwise, it's a little bit risky to start with some project, but you don't know very well if there are the right ones for you. So for this reason, I personally suggest to always start with a digital assessment. So like a digital advisor company to perform a preliminary research, a brand assessment, or a competitive scenario. So you can see which one is your target, you can see where is better to invest, which platforms, and then define an action plan later. So it will help you to to focus on the real opportunities you have, and then create the action plan to involve can involve WeChat, can involve Tmall, can involve create your own mini program, etc. But it's a second phase. It's the first phase. I suggest a digital advisory company to have a clear idea about all the digital environment, and then go with them, with some partners, to do the specific operations. I don't know if the the answer is clear, or you need more information from me.
Yeah, thank you, Stefano. It's clear. Thank you. And now let's give the floor to Ambra to answer the second question about KOL. How much does the average KOL cost? And can you give some example among different ones?
Okay, so mostly the KOL cost depends, apart from like the number of followers and engagement, also it depends on which kind of relationship you have with the KOL. So let me share the screen again. I'll show you if I can. It looks like I cannot share. Let me see, 1 second. I want to see if I can share. Okay, so first of all, I'll show you, this is Tanya, and she's a one-on. So she is not an expert on something specifically. You can see from her Weibo, she has 5 million of followers, but she talk about fashion, but also you can see fitness and beauty. So she's a one-on, not a KOL, and her price, we can say, is around 20,000 renminbi. I'm talking specifically about her just because you asked me for a sample. Again, it depends on the product, it depends on the relationship that you have with the influencer. Then I show you a celebrity, Zhang Yixing. So here we're talking about 50 million of followers. This is a celebrity. He's a singer and an actor, so it's not specifically for something, but whatever he has, people in China, they want it. And we're talking for a campaign to about 5 million renminbi. Obviously, when it comes to both celebrity, KOL, if you have a long-term relationship, of course, you can cut the costs. And then, one second. Then we have, okay, so then we have Maya Shin. This is a Douyin account, and as you can see, well, basically it does sport, so it can be considered a KOL, but at that end, because it's and it does videos. Usually for 20-second video, it asks for around 50,000 renminbi. I'm talking about in renminbi, not euro, of course. And in the end, I show you a sample of a KUC. She has just 5,000 followers. As you can see, she has very low engage, like 30 to 45 likes, and she asked for 700 renminbi. So again, everything depends on the relationship you have, the kind of products, how long is the campaign that you want to do, and what is your goal.
Thank you, Ambra. Thank you. We are receiving other questions in the Q&A. Again, a question for Stefano. When you have a WeChat mini program, is it possible to get some statistics about usage, how many people browse it, which pages are most popular, how long they spend on each sections, and also how they got this mini program?
Okay, I'm here. So, okay, so for the mini program, as you know, like, yes, for sure you can get statistics about the usage, because the WeChat mini program is your platform. So basically you create your own platform, and it means that you can get the data from the back end. So this is possible. And the data is a very important point, because very often with marketplaces, the data you can get are limited in some way. They belong to the platform, the main platform, but it's not the case of mini programs, since it's your mini program one. And from the back end, you can have access to many information.
Okay, thank you again, Stefano. So another question for Ambra. So how do you assess the extent of their following? So how many real followers they have? Do these followers have a real purchase power?
Well, we use softwares to check actually their followers, and to check. It's the same that you do actually with social media in the Western world. Like, you have software in which you can check, let's say, the health of an account. So the engagement, how many are fake followers, how many are real followers, and then usually, well, obviously for the purchase power of the follower, we see which kind of brands they cooperated in the past, and if they keep cooperating with them, so it means that the campaign was successful. So we see other cases. It's not like a new KOL coming over, and then, as I said before, we actually generate a dynamic QR code for each KOL, so we can actually see who is working, who is not. Thanks.
Thank you. We have a question for David Ries. As an SME, what e-commerce channels should one look into?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Well, really it depends what kind of sector you're in, and what you're looking to achieve, and what kind of awareness you've already built in China, what your channels are, etc. So it really varies from case to case. It's impossible to give just a straightforward answer to which is the correct platform, but I would be glad to give any further advice by just adding me on WeChat. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, David. Thank you. We have a question for Andrea. Just a second. So in your opinion, what countries and/or product sectors will have most potential in China in 2021?
Yeah, it's a good question. As I was mentioning, I think the focus in 2021 would increasingly be about smart, about health, about youth, mother and baby, about safety. So anything that is in these areas. So it could range from milk powder to smart home solutions to clean food, to anything that can improve the quality of the life of the middle class and the wealthy. I think that's going to have more and more potential. There is one underlying point though, which is I think the products that have the most potential in China are the ones that cannot already be found in China. Now, this may seem obvious, but I speak to a lot of companies that they seem to be thinking that their product is exactly what China is just waiting for, but the reality is that there is so much in China that is already been sold already by competitors from abroad, but also by Chinese companies. I think I mentioned this before. Chinese companies are now really trailing international companies in terms of the quality, the ability to deliver, the creativity of their products and services. So I think, as Stefano was mentioning, a phase of understanding. So let's figure out if what we're doing has a future and potential in China is definitely something that everybody needs to be doing before they enter the market.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I don't think there are other questions. Just check. So I just would like to thank you everyone for, I just would like to thank you, first of all, the Use Me Center and all the participants for taking part in the online workshop. You will receive a short participants feedback form by email, and I kindly ask you everyone to fill it out because it's very important for us to receive your feedbacks in order to better support you. And if you have, I also remind everyone that the Use Me Center has activated a free of charge service called Ask the Expert. So if you have a specific request, you can also go on the Use Me Center website and ask the experts, so they will be happy to answer your questions. Moreover, we will post our, as already said in the chat, we will post the recording of this webinar on the Use Me Center website. So thank you very much for again, and stay tuned, and hope to see you again in our next webinar.
Thanks for hosting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You.
Bye.
Bye bye.